your opponents to fear you. Have the fear of God. If I ever run into this motherfucker, he's gonna beat the shit out of me. That's what I want, because you have the fierce tenacity that no one can fucking. No one.
See? It holds its shape, even underwater.
Carl, it's rusting. I can actually see the pop rivets in your skull, man.
Yo, Cap, you're a savage for that, man. I mean, I'm not going to front, though. It really does look like Myron has the Larry Miller hair system. And it's really interesting, Cap, when you're talking about a guy who is always talking about how certain types of women of certain races wear weaves and extensions and all that other stuff.
A little bit of a hypocrite.
But a funny hypocrite nonetheless.
Yeah, man. So, hey, man, it's been kind of wild, right? We're both big Abba and Preach fans and, Andrew Schultz fans, right? I haven't watched the Flagrant 2. As
not
often...
so much on not so much on Aaron.
But our favorite frauds in Florida, man, they've had some viral moments over the last week or so. Like, goddamn, they're on fire. And not in the best way possible. Let's just be very clear there.
Yeah,
so,
it's really weird, Cap. We did a video. Actually, you did a video recently about how savage Aaron Preach went on the frauds in Florida about their claims of what people in the military and on sports teams do.
Yeah.
And a lot of people thought that it was unnecessary, Abba and Preach going at them. And I guess in some ways you could look at it that way, but I also think that it was the frauds in Florida that tried to call into question the heterosexuality of Abba and Preach because they danced with women on stage semi-professionally. Yeah. Like, I mean, we're looking to call everybody everything in the book these days for everything other than the thing that it was meant for. Like, yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it was a pretty wild take.
Yeah.
And I mean, you saw the intro of the video, Myron's famous voice crack, like really feeling tough. It's interesting to kind of
talking is tough.
Talking is tough. It's like no one. It was just kind of like, it was a little ridiculous. Like, I understand. I made a video on the channel just today, right, about the Matt Ariza situation in football, where he ended, his career is pretty much ruined, right? Hopefully he gets back on a team. We don't know. And there's reasons why the red pill community exists. Mm-hmm. But then you have clowns like those two that are just profiting off of it and not actually helping men and giving them really poor advice. And for men that are like, especially Myron, like, you gotta stay within your masculine frame. Him screaming, crying, like being hysterical, like, I want to fight, no one. Is that staying within your masculine frame? No. Yeah, that's why we call them the frauds in Florida, dude.
And it's crazy, right? Like, if I was in this position, I would know that I'm in trouble if a massive mammaried OnlyFans girl is asking me about how emotional I am. I'd be like, whoa, this is a sign that I need to chill the fuck out. Yeah.
I mean, are you emotional? It's like, yeah, he kind of is.
And I got emotional when I saw them titties. You had to tell me to focus. Sorry, Cap, man. Them shit is big.
You know what's crazy? Go ahead.
But you know what else is big, Cap? Myron's big threats, man. He likes to go on Twitter and make big proclamations about him training and
boxing,
putting on boxing gloves and wanting to fight and all of that.
It's usually the dogs that like bark the loudest that have like no bite. It's just the truth. Like, this dude is so vocal about it. Like, if you're about that, like, just go box, go beat somebody up. Because there's been countless times where he's he's actually invited people like Preach. He accepted that invitation and then he runs from it. And then he's had people confront him and he doesn't do anything. He'll just pick on people he feels like he has a chance to beat in a fight. And
why?
It's comical.
You know why I respect you and your kind? Your kind.
That sounds pretty racist, but keep going.
Because when you guys want to fight, you guys just drop the gloves. And it's just like, there's no talking. Yo, I've seen motherfuckers at the face-off circle.
Just go, bro.
They didn't look. the gloves come down. Guys like Captain Paul, man, this is why, you should never make assumptions about, and you're going to hear later on about the criticisms that AMP have about only wanting fights that you can win. I've seen guys 5'10" go up against Ryan Reeves, just throw the gloves down on the ice.
Yeah,
so
man.
people might look at you, Cap, and be like, well, he's, barely 5'10", 5'11", whatever. Cap will drop the gloves on you without talking. He's not going to go on Twitter. and that's why I respect people like you, Cap. I do.
Well, I mean, I'll just say this, right? Anyone that's actually ever been into a fight, you can win a fight, you can lose a fight. You never know how it's going to go because you think, because somebody's got a certain size advantage. I've had guys that have had way longer reach advantage and I've been able to beat. And then I've faced guys around my height that are, way better fighters, and it's woo, busted lip and stuff like that. You don't know how a fight's going to go 1-for-1. And usually, just in my personal opinion, I'm not screaming, oh, I want to fight. I want to drop. If you're going to fight, shut the fuck up and just fight. You don't have to make it this public and it just seems it reeks of insecurity.
Your business partner or your former associate Ayunde, who showed up at your house, broke in, and has been finding you in the streets, what did you do when he wanted to fight you and beat you up? When he said, let's get in the ring, boxing gloves.
You walk up out of there, bro. Immediately after, Myron was like, hey, Queen, watch out, bro. This about to come up on us. This random nigga right here with the dreads come up. And Myron pulled up the blower like, hey, stop playing. You lose your life, nigga. Come close. I'm about to blow your shit back. And the nigga kept coming, bro. And then luckily the cops was right there, so we had an extra witness. Yeah, facts. Oh, yeah, no, yeah.
The cops weren't here. He'd be
Facts.
He would legit be.
Right. That shit crazy, bro.
And he tried to question like 2 different occasions.
Really?
Yes. That's what I'm trying to tell you, bro.
Like in public?
Yes.
And here's the thing, right? This dude is so dead set on trying to initiate violence, but when somebody wants to run the fade, we're talking about Ayunde is not coming with any guns, no knives. He's listen.
He's got some guns.
These hands.
He's got some guns. Let's give him some credit there.
But you get what I'm saying, right? And the first thing Myron wants to do is to pull out the great equalizer.
Yeah. See, I'm fine. As you know, I have multiple guns, right? I'm a big firearm 2A advocate. But this is also what I have to say. If you're on the internet talking shit, or just in general, talking shit, saying, I'm going to fight you, and then when someone brings that energy finally forth to you, and you hide behind a handgun, you're a pussy. You're not strong, you're not tough. He hides behind his gun, and he hides behind the cops, and then he's trying to act all big, oh, he's lucky I could have ended his life. What? Because, dude, that would have not gone well for you. For a guy that was a federal agent, he's pretty fucking stupid. I don't even know if he knows the laws. It's kind of crazy, right? Am I wild? He's that fucking dumb that, oh, you think just because someone comes and approaches you, you're just gonna pull out a gun? Yeah, he's in Florida, but, I don't know, man. Just kind of wild. Just wild.
Well, the thing is, he's not just dumb in Florida, Cap, apparently. He's also dumb enough to start stuff in public in foreign countries as well. It's one thing to know that you got to stand your ground or what have you, because, you need a gun to fight a guy who's coming with his fists. I understand that, Myron. The thing is that it is not a fair fight. His fist versus your fist, so you have to bring the gun into the equation. And so I'm not really going to judge you on that, fine, sir. But how's this for stupid, Cap?
Come to greet from across the river. Bro, I don't know you, man. I don't know you. It's all good, bro. Just bounce. I don't know you, bro. Just bounce, bro. I don't know you, bro. Just bounce. I don't know you, bro, but. Come back over here.
Another example, Cap, of just the kind of cowardice that I saw growing up in the hood. The whole hold me back, right? Yeah. Myron had to wait until the nameless guy steps in front of him, and then as the other guy is already going away, because the guy had already stopped to say, yo, we could do this right now, and everybody's like, nah. But then when the guy gets far enough away, then it's kind of like when you see the little dogs and they start yipping when somebody's far away.
That's what he reminds me of as a chihuahua. Just a yip. He's a pussy. It's for a guy that is all about masculine frame and all that shit. Dude, you're not about that. And it's fine. You don't have to be a fighter, but don't portray yourself as someone who's big bag and tough. I'm going to take all challengers when you have people your size or even bigger than you, and you little turtle, little get in your shell, little cower like a pussy. And then when someone's like, what, 20, 30 feet already like going away from you, then you decide to grow a set. It's just laughable at that point. Like, why? I don't know. I don't know how consumers are, I don't know how he retains viewership. He's just it's so fake.
Well,
It's so fake.
We talked about this before, Kat, and I think that is worth noting. Again, a lot of what the frauds say is not necessarily wrong. That's how you get fraud. Like, fraud is born out of some sort of accurate statement or state of being, right? Like, you can't have a lie that people will believe without some element of truth. Speaking a lot of truth, things that a lot of men can identify with, because everything that these two guys are saying, a lot of these guys have experienced or they've observed these things happening to other guys around them, their father, older brothers, uncles, cousins, their friends. Like, they've seen these things or it's happened to them. Yeah. So you don't really get a bunch of guys who are successful dealing with women who are going to be one of the hundreds of thousands, or, you know, they're probably over 1 million by now. I haven't been watching them since they had like 300,000 subscribers, right? So I don't really know where they're at, but you don't get a bunch of guys that are happy that then go join that platform. In fact, there are a bunch of guys who don't ever have any trouble that go and they try to refute the true statements that the frauds in Florida make, because they're like, well, that's not my experience. But it's like, well, you know, you're a professional bodybuilder, or you're a professional fighter, or you're a guy that makes a whole bunch of money because you're already super popular, so the girls are already clamoring around you. You don't remember what it was like when you didn't have shit.
Well, but this is where I'll agree with you to an extent. The reason why their platform has grown to the level it has, and I'll be honest, I don't know what it is either, is that, hey, a lot of men face like isolation issues, relationship issues. They feel alone. They feel betrayed. They've been treated very poorly in relationships. They've even had the system rigged up against them. So I can completely understand why they have this platform and why some men flock to them. But it's just such snake oil salesman type shit that they offer you. It's not true and really good advice to you. And when you're having individuals like that have emotional reactions and just the way they portray themselves, that's not a leader. That's not somebody you should be rallying behind. That's somebody that's lost on the path of life, in my personal opinion. That's not somebody that can help you better yourself. That's someone that needs to figure out their own lane and figure out their own life, just how I'm observing it.
But I gotta say this, Cap. Nobody just comes out of their mother's womb just knowing what to do and how to handle situations. And we do live in a society today that does not care about the development of young men and boys. In fact, they basically only care about men and boys when A, they want to extract some kind of value from them, or B, they want to demonize them because they've gone and done something drastic after spending all of their time being ostracized and isolated. So where are these guys going to go when there is nobody actually speaking to them, because nobody gives a fuck to begin with? And that's how you get guys like that. It's kind of like what happened in a lot of these political situations. If you think about Germany in the 1920s and 30s, you think about the United States in the 2010s, you get these guys that are able to rise to prominence because there are a bunch of people that are being marginalized. And everybody is laughing at them and it's all good old time. But then when somebody recognizes that there's a gap in the market and like, oh, those people are pretty angry right now and they don't have a voice. Now you have given them power to rise to prominence. The things that the frauds in Florida are saying, they make sense on the surface. But since few people are actually acknowledging this, then they're the guys with the largest voice that people actually care to hear.
Well, that's the unfortunate part, though, is they have the largest voice, where I feel like there's a lot more worthwhile content, and there's a lot better advice out there from, because if you're a leader, right, how you portray yourself is very important, and those two just are not very good at that. With the way they handle stressful situations, emotional situations, I mean, like one of those ladies said in that podcast.
I would say that you are extremely emotional. Do you consider yourself an emotional male?
That they had is like, are you usually very emotional? He's a very emotional man, so he can't sit here on this premise of staying in his masculine frame if he's breaking down crying and voice cracking over fighting somebody on the internet. And this is I guess a note I'll make is that nothing is really that serious to me on the internet where I'm going to go in person and beat the brakes off of him. It's just really, it's not that serious. It seems like he's a very fragile person. For somebody that's so masculine, so big, so tough, he's got to be the most sensitive person I've seen on the internet and just can't really deal with the inner workings of it. Just, again, my observations for what I've seen from him.
But do you know, and I guess they're guilty of this to some degree because we know somebody purposely who paid them to then be insulted by them. But another one of the holes in the market cap, and this is what I hope that we're able to fill on TSP, is that the guys that usually have the good advice, they don't speak with any empathy towards the men. They know that what the guys need to do to improve. Right. But the way that they formulate their product, we'll just call it that, they don't really have like a lot of empathy. They say they have empathy, but then, the first thing they want to do is call them names and all that other stuff, like, simp. I mean, I know, a lot of these guys are simps, but the way that there's a way to talk to people that's going to be effective. And there's a way that a lot of guys in the manosphere talk to the guys. So it's really not it's a bitter pill that they have to swallow, but they don't even put the bitter pill in applesauce. They just kind of just man up. But the thing is, we've been told by all of society, including feminism, to just man up. So more of the same isn't really helpful. And so when you see these guys dunking on these women, then you kind of feel like there's a little bit of get back. There's a little bit going back in the other direction where you don't feel like everybody in the world is against you.
And I can understand that, but in my personal opinion, I don't really see the value they really offer you. They scam people out of the fucking thing. I mean, we knew somebody that paid for advice, which, by the way, fucking stupid. Don't waste your money. And they just sat there insulting them, right? Yeah. Can we be very honest? Like, they're scam artists. That's what they are. That's why I just don't really have a high regard for them, because they're pieces of shit.
But the thing is, they can only run the scam if they have something else of value.
Right, and we can belabor that point. I understand that. I can understand that young men and men in general can feel alone, can feel isolated, can feel depressed. That's why they take themselves. That's why men do take forever sleep themselves at a higher rate than any other demographic. I understand there's issues there, but I think when it kind of comes down to it, is there's also good people in this space that can give you real good constructive criticism, kind of help and guide you. I mean, Kevin Samuels was a person that, at least gave you some good, tangible advice financially and otherwise to better yourself. You have other people on the platform that are willing, like, hey, this is what A through Z, what you can do to improve. Whereas when I'm looking at the frauds in Florida, it's just confrontational. It's just drama. It's just them being highly emotional. It's them trying to just be kind of crazy in a way, and I don't think that's a good influence, especially for young men that are trying to find their way in this world. That's all I'm saying.
Well, and essentially, they have a masculine podcast that is delivered in a very feminine form.
Like, it settles anything. What example are you setting for people? All your followers are going to get in boxing rings with people they have disputes with too? Just stop it. But you can carry on yelling. You can say, I'm scared. You can say, it doesn't bother me. Imagine trying to appeal to a bunch of strangers and be like, nah, I'm a brave man. I need y'all to know. So I'm going to get... When you fight somebody at the drop of the dime because they said some words to you, so like, let's say they call you a coward, they call you they say they want to box or whatever, you're essentially giving them control over your mental state and your actions. Like, today it's these guys. What happens when the next person says something about my family? I got to go fight them too?
I mean, that's a valid point, though, right? If you're going to fight all your detractors, it does become a never-ending cycle. I think fighting somebody online, or that is online, for them to saying something insulting about you, unless it crosses a certain line, it's just foolhardy. Because you're going to be fighting every single... You know how many people and idiots I would fucking fight in the comment section that have said something stupid or disrespectful? It would be endless. It's pointless. It's wasted energy. So I agree with that. It's a never-ending cycle. And quite frankly, when you're a grown-ass man on the internet just demanding to fight another human being, another man, it kind of comes off as cringe and pathetic. It's like a desperation. It's like attention. Oh, I want this attention. And I don't know. For me, it's wasted energy. I agree 100% with Abba on that.
You know what the takeaway I get from this, Cap, is, we talk about this whole red pill, blue pill thing. And Abba and Preach have been known to try to rag on people who subscribe to the red pill ideology. Although, as of late, if you look at some of the videos that they've put out, they both have kind of come around like, oh, and I could see why people are red pilled, or this thing red pilled me because of I saw this or that. You've been seeing a lot more of that from them. But here's the thing, right? They're known as being blue pill. As a matter of fact, that when Abba went to Florida to talk to the frauds in person, he went right at them on that point. And here's the funny thing, Cap. Here's the thing that gets me about all of this. The so-called red pillers are the ones not holding proper masculine frame, but in the clip that we just showed you, the so-called blue pill guys have the most masculine approach to these issues. And it doesn't, it could be as pathetic as you want to be, a cry for attention, and that could all be true, Cap.
Mm-hmm.
But what does it actually say about your ability to provide and protect as the man that you're supposed to be? Protection doesn't mean that you go out there looking for problems and to show all this bravado and all that other stuff. It is only really bringing out the protection when you need to protect someone.
Yeah.
And the protection should be commensurate with the situation.
Yeah, I mean, I think when it kind of comes down to it, as a man, you know how to handle yourself in these situations and understand that, like, okay, this deserves maybe a somewhat violent reaction. That's more of the extreme. But generally, most of the time, probably 95 to 98% of the time, you have to be measured and you have to be you have to use your head. You have to be rational. When you're getting overly emotional, which the frauds do, you're losing your masculine frame. And you're going to do things that are irrational, and you're going to regret what you do down the road. They might not regret it today or tomorrow, but maybe years down the line, they look back like, maybe not the best way to handle that. I think the way Abba and Preach just kind of talking about it and their viewpoints on it, I think in a lot of ways is the best way to deal with it. He understands, like, I mean, this is just kind of goofy, end of the day, getting into a physical confrontation over some internet bad words. So that's kind of my main takeaway from what they had to say.
I got a hot take for you because, as you know, this is TSP, home of the cold truth and the hot take. I think Walter is more masculine than Myron.
Oh, I mean, is that because the other dudes were nibbling on that guy's ear? Or?
Hey, yo. I wasn't thinking of that. I wasn't thinking of that when you said that, Cap. But I was thinking about the fact that when Walter responds, he's a lot slower to respond, and he's much less likely to raise his voice. He doesn't talk like super fast. You can tell that he's actually thinking about what he's about to say before he says it.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of the loud barking that you talked about earlier from Myron kind of holds him in check a little bit, because he thinks that Myron could whip his ass.
Yeah, I mean, probably. It's a weird dynamic those two have. There's
a lot of weird dynamics between Myron and other men.
I take one, then I take the other one.
Listen, I'm not here to have people fight and advocate, but Preach, you your own man.
I was the one that was willing. I was the one that was, let's go. And when we contacted you, you said nothing. Your other partner as well didn't respond. Saw the messages, didn't respond. Both of you. And now you're gonna switch it to Abba? That's fine, that's cool. That's what we know, that you don't want none of that.
You know what I get from this, Cap?
What's that?
I think we as men, we already know who's real and who's not.
Yeah.
And we've already seen now multiple opportunities for Myron to put his fists where his mouth is. And his first inclination is to shrink back. You saw it in the clip in UK where the guy gave him the first opportunity. He stopped within 5 feet of him and looked him right in the eye, and he didn't want it. But then he wanted to act like he wanted it way later on. And then when you see the clip, how far away from the police Myron is standing, and he's talking about how he was about to end someone's life. Oh, I was about to, but, you know, that guy can't. And then you look at this situation, and I just think that Preach just blows the doors off of all of this. You guys had the opportunity with the first, you know how they say the first impressions is the lasting impression?
Yep.
The first impression when they accepted the boxing match, they were looking to see just how manly you were. So if you would have done the boxing match, Myron, and would have lost, then Preach would have had more respect for you.
100%.
Than if you would have just did what you did. Like the way that you ended up doing it made it where everybody did not respect you. So now you want to switch the gears and be like, well, we kind of got a little bit of intel that Preach is not to be fucked with, but we don't have any ill intel on ABBA, so let's go at him. Every turn that you get the opportunity to look real, you look fake.
Well, I mean, this is the thing, right? Like, there's been times where, like, you know, you'll get in fights in life. You'll actually have more respect for a person stands his ground and you fight, win or lose, draw, whatever. You gain that respect. You might not like the individual. One of my best friends, we got into a fist fight like the second time we met. We became really close after the fact because we're like, yo, respect the shit out of him, and it was a mutual respect there. I know that sounds weird, but that's, I don't know, it's just something, maybe it's a Northeastern thing, I don't know. Anyways.
Wow, Lutch. Good job, Lutch.
What? Anyways, that was weird. Anyways, oh, now I get what you're saying. Anyways, I'll be honest with you. I think ABBA can beat the brakes off of Myron. If I'll be honest, because the way he carries himself, he's been in the military, very calm dude. Those are the type of dudes you do not fuck with. I'll be very clear. And they're
a real
very
man would have been able to recognize that and would have kept their fucking mouth shut, but not Myron.
A real dude, like, listen, maybe ABBA don't fight like that. I know Myron don't fight. Just the way he's like a little chihuahua, yip, 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 yip. Like, I know for a fact he's never thrown a punch in his life. Or maybe
Did you see the clip? The clip that he put on the internet?
Yeah. Well, listen, I think he's taken a pounding from the back.
Hey, yo.
But I don't think he's ever taken a pounding to his face, right? So I think when it kind of comes down to it, I think ABBA would wash. I mean, I think ABBA would definitely wash him in a fight. But again, it is kind of corny. The individual that's constantly yelling about fighting, I'm boxing, I'm ready, takes a few lessons, starts feeling himself. He'll never actually get into a fight, even though he's the one shouting from the rooftops, I'm going to fight anybody that has smoke for me, and he has yet to do so. It's pathetic.
That shit is crazy. And like I said, man, I look at all of the videos that everybody's made on them. You know that I'm tired of talking about these motherfuckers, but I thought that this was a good opportunity to kind of show guys out there exactly to really show guys how important it is to make sure that your word is your bond and that you let cooler heads prevail. We don't live in a world where we have to go and, stab brontosauruses for our, children's next meal in a cave, right?
Yeah.
The way that we display our masculinity is by how much self-control that we have. And when you look at the so-called blue pill guys, they actually appear, at least in their behavior and in their body language, to be more red pill than the gurus.
So I'm Captain Paul, that's Dr. Evil Genius. We are the kings of the hot takes.
And the cold truths.
And we'll see you in the next one.
Oh man. You're